Tonight, multiple rapist and murderer Adrian Bayley sits in his jail cell with no prospect of release for 35 years. This monster stalked, raped and then murdered Melbourne woman Jill Meagher as she walked home from a night out. Adding to that horror, we now know that Bayley has been a sexual predator for the past 20 years, repeatedly raping women and repeatedly getting caught, only to serve minimum prison sentences after convincing authorities he was safe to be released. Bayley was on parole when he murdered Jill Meagher. As frightening as that is, there are other creeps just like Bayley, and sadly, other victims just like Jill.
I dream that she comes back home at night and I'm saying to her, why have you put me through this? And I wake up and I think, oh, this is real. She hasn't come home. You know, I hear her walking through the door, or I hear noises and think she's home, and I jump and there's just nothing there. And...
For the last 7 months, Noelle Dixon's waking moments have been a nightmare. Her daughter Sarah, like 29-year-old Jill Meagher, will never walk through the door again because, like Jill, she was murdered last year by a violent repeat offender who should have been in jail.
I don't know whether it's that mother's instinct. You just know. I just knew something was wrong.
These grainy images of Jill Meagher, captured on CCTV, will forever be etched in our minds. Adrian Bayley. Who could know he was brimming with such menace and unspeakable violence? Certainly not Jill, out late with friends until she made the fateful decision to walk home alone. This was the awful night their worlds collided. Last September in Brunswick, Melbourne. So she's walked all the way up here from the bar, heading home.
This is the fatal corner that she comes to, that she turns down, away from the busy Sydney Road, and now she's really on her own.
With 35 years on the force, former homicide detective Charlie Bazina has investigated too many crimes like this.
He makes that conscious decision, here is my next victim, because he's been there, done that before. He's not afraid of it.
Just 200 metres from Jill's home, this is where the bold and opportunistic Bayley decided to strike.
He happened to have a laneway close by, desolate, dark as dark can be, and somewhere along here is then raped and murdered Jill.
Jill was brutally raped and murdered and is never coming back.
This week, 41-year-old Adrian Bayley was sentenced to a minimum 35 years in jail. And clearly, being locked up is the only thing that can stop him. He committed his first rape as a 19-year-old. While on bail, he attacked another 2 women. He served just 22 months for the 3 assaults. In 2000, he rapes again. Over a 6-month period, 5 women are attacked, for which Bayley's sentenced to 11 years, but only serves 8. By 2010, he's out on parole. He breaches it by bashing a man in a pub. Same story. He gets bail and is paroled again, free to murder Jill Meagher.
He is one scary dude.
I mean, for a lot of people in the community, commit 1 rape and you should never be out again. He committed 22 counts of rape.
Absolutely.
How could that be allowed?
Mind-boggling. That's what but we're not getting any answers from the parole board. I should, as a family member, if I was a family member with a deceased, I want to know from each parole person, why did you give this person parole? Why wasn't he breached? Why wasn't he not removed from the community so my daughter would be alive today based on you? Where is your accountability?
A monster may have raped and murdered Jill Meagher, but the justice system allowed him to do it, allowed him to walk free when he should have been in jail. What is so terrifying is that there are other Adrian Bayleys amongst us. In the last 4.5 years in Victoria alone, there have been a dozen murders committed by criminals on parole. One of the more chilling cases is that of Sarah Cafferkey, who was murdered last year, just 2 months after Jill.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Sarah would have celebrated her 23rd birthday on Thursday with friends, her mum Noelle Dixon and her beloved puppy Sprocket.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
No doubt she would have been the life of the party. But this gathering is no celebration. Instead, there is misery and a deep sense of loss, because last November, Sarah crossed paths with evil. 47-year-old Stephen James Hunter.
She didn't judge people. She took people on face value. And she didn't think that her life was in danger. She didn't think there was anything wrong.
Noelle loved the fact her only child was messy and noisy. Today, her home is painfully neat and unbearably quiet. And all because of a platonic friendship Sarah had with Stephen Hunter.
I have her here in my heart. I have Sarah's ashes. She's with me all the time. That's all I have. Some ashes of this beautiful, bubbly girl who had the most beautiful, sparkling eyes, the most infectious smile. He took all that away.
Until the 10th of November last year, Bacchus Marsh, an hour's drive west of Melbourne, was a peaceful and safe little town. No one had any idea there was a killer living amongst them. It was a Saturday, and Sarah had gone to visit Hunter at his home. Forensic specialists say she was bashed and repeatedly stabbed. Sarah Cafferkey didn't stand a chance.
He snapped. He said he hit her around the head with a blunt object, but he doesn't remember stabbing her.
How many times did he stab her?
I think it was about 20 times. 20 times. But he hit her first. She would have felt it all. She would have felt that. 20 times. And why?
It's the hardest question for this mum to think about. But the answer lies in Hunter's skill, developed over almost 30 years in and out of prisons, to manipulate and convince authorities he was rehabilitated when he wasn't. Stephen James Hunter didn't deserve a second chance, but got so many from the justice system. In 1986, he stabbed to death 18-year-old schoolgirl Jackie Matthews, who'd rejected his sexual advances. To cover up his crime, this coward then tried to burn her body beyond recognition. The judge at the time was spot on when he said there was very little chance of Hunter ever returning to the community as a useful or decent citizen before sentencing him to a minimum of just 13 years in jail.
This man got 13 years for murdering Jackie. And just sort of think, how does that happen? Murder. Violently murdered her. Tried to cover it up. Exactly what he told me, Sarah.
26 years after Jackie's murder, his MO has barely changed. Hunter moved Sarah from one house to another, and then to destroy the evidence, he dumped her in a wheelie bin and covered her body in wet cement.
Who does that? He's going to throw her away as if she was a piece of trash. She was my baby girl. And I remember speaking to the coroner. And I said, when can I come and see Sarah? And They said, you can't. And I said, what do you mean I can't? He said, you can't see her. And I said, but I have to say goodbye to her. You don't understand. She's my only child. I have to say goodbye. I've got to hold her one more time. I have to say goodbye to her. Because of what he did to her, I wasn't allowed to see her.
So, along with your grief, how much anger do you have about this situation, that this man had the opportunity to do it twice?
Absolutely furious. Furious at the fact that he can just slip into the society and just be another person.
And the community of Bacchus Marsh feels equally betrayed. Many often come here.
Does that give you strength?
Oh yes, definitely.
Why is that?
Well, to think that just shows how much she was loved and how much she's missed.
And while they prefer to remember how Sarah lived rather than how she died, it's hard to ignore the rap sheet of her murderer. While serving his 13 years for Jackie's murder, Hunter escaped from Pentridge. He was quickly caught but still released on parole in 2000. Just over a year later, he kidnapped and tortured a man. He was eventually convicted and served 4 years behind bars. Since his release, he's been accused of breaching his parole numerous times by dealing in drugs and threatening violence, but no action has ever been taken. Just 9 days after his parole period ended, he killed Sarah. And Noelle now shares a tragic bond she never wanted with the Marr family. From the Premier down, everyone agrees the decision to allow Adrian Bayley out on parole in the first place was a catastrophic failure. But the parole board won't tell us what it's thinking on Bayley or Hunter because its laws are currently under review. Though it claims changes already in place make the parole laws here the toughest in the country.
I don't think it's tough enough. We're not sending that tough message back to the crooks that you are different from a law-abiding citizen. And can you be a contributing person to the community and someone can live safely with your presence? And if the answer is no, you're in the bin and that's where you should stay.
For life.
For life, absolutely.
I'm seeing a lot of sparkles and a lot of pink here.
Oh yes, that's what Sarah was all about.
All Noelle Dixon has are these photos and her memories of Sarah.
Even then, with that beautiful smile.
She's lost her vivacious daughter forever and her own sense of well-being with the world.
You put on a front for everybody. And inside, you're just a breaking, crumbling mess of pain, heartache. You're sick. You can't control the shakes, your nerves. Just because someone thinks they can take another person's life. They're not normal. They can't be.
Well, this man has proven himself twice that he's not normal, hasn't he?
That's right. He certainly has.
Next week, Noelle will tell the court of her devastation. And then Stephen Hunter will be sentenced. As with Jill Meagher's family, there will be plenty of crossed fingers that this time he gets the sentence he deserves and what the community expects. What would you like to see happen to Hunter?
I would like to see Hunter in jail, in a cell, and nothing. No computers, no books, just to sit in a cell. That's what he deserves. Not death. That's too easy. I hope he gets tortured. And I hope he feels pain every minute of his day, like I do. That's what I want for him.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.